women need to be told no. No, you can't dress like that. No, you cannot post those pictures on Instagram. No, you cannot have a bunch of guy friends. Ladies, when do you need to put those emotions aside and listen to what your man tells you? Let's get into it on today's episode.
Gotta walk the talk and sing the rhyme. Confidence so heavy it stops time. Eyes on the prize.
Welcome back to the Speak Like the Boss podcast. I'm Anthony. This is Chase. How we going this week?
We're still going, man. It's going good. Everything's getting back on track. I feel good. Everything's everything's on point.
Good. Diet's going smoothly.
Yeah. Diet's smooth. Got some good rhythm with my meal prep. Going to the gym every day.
It's perfect.
It's freaking awesome.
That's good. You look sharp today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That too. Let's jump into today's topic, which is communication with women. And I wanted specifically, when we go through the topics, is talk about the differences of how you should communicate and when it's the right time to communicate before you're in the relationship, when you're still dating phase and meeting phase, and then after you have the girl.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, first topic, setting boundaries. When is it too early and what should they be? I want to hear what you have to say. We'll start with the dating and meeting process first. When you're setting boundaries, is it a good idea to do it right off the rip, right out of the gate?
It strongly heavily depends on what it is, what we're talking about. If she asks me about something, then you can't lie to her. It's gotta be something that I gotta find the right way to say it, right?
Okay.
Like my last long-term girlfriend, for example, she was like, oh, well, it's my friend's birthday. We'd been dating for probably like a month. She was like, oh, it's my friend's birthday. We're going to go, we're only going to her place, but we'll be drinking and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, are there any guys there that you have seen like that?
Sure.
She's like, no, it's just friends and their boyfriend. She's like, I'm pretty much the only one single. And I didn't want to be like, well, I'll go with you. But like, she should have.
Well, I was about to ask that exact question is why were you not invited?
Because it was, I guess, too new. And she was, understandably, You
were officially girlfriend, boyfriend? Or you just started talking?
Definitely weren't like officially boyfriend, girlfriend.
Okay. I could see it.
We had been, we'll say exclusive for like a month. Exclusive for about a month. And then, but anyway, she went. I was like, okay, well, if there are no dudes that, I didn't say it this way, but there are no dudes there she used to bone. So I was like, all right, whatever, have a good time. And she definitely tested me. She texted me some weird things throughout the night and just, I guess, trying to get a reaction out of me. I don't remember exactly the contents, but it was, I know at one point after she talked about how she like made out with her friend and it was her birthday. And
female friend.
Yes. And her boyfriend just sat there and watched yes, severe red flags. And she was looking for a reaction out of me. And I knew she was, so I didn't give her one.
And you were younger at this point, so you entertained it as far as the relationship still past this point with her.
Yes, it was yes. Unfortunately.
Mistake.
Yes. Huge mistake.
You should have put her in the fornication only category.
Yeah, for fun only category. Absolutely should have.
Okay.
I assume what a lot of people who are going to end up watching this have the same issue that I had at the time. I learned a lot going through that relationship, but how it was to like put that down, right? Like, do I say something? Do I'm like, hey, that's probably not cool going forward. Like, I don't want to sound controlling, but like, if you want to be in a relationship with me, then like, you can't be doing that stuff.
No, it's very interesting. That's a really great way to start this, because that puts a man in a very difficult position. And I would say you're going to handle that differently based on your expertise with women and how many you've been around.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because if you're just starting out, you're a young man, and this is one of your first 5 or so girlfriends, you don't get enough attention to just let a pretty girl walk away at that point. You're still going to want to pursue her regardless of her flaws and mistakes, because you're like, well, you're gonna rationalize it in your own mind and say, oh, well, at least she didn't make out with a dude, or at least she's not fucking, or doing all this and that. She's just, oh, it was just a girl. But it still made you feel some type of way.
Yeah, and
Right.
and the issue with me is I guess my knee jerk reaction was, how am I supposed to react to that? You know, like where are we going with this?
And this is a good lesson for the ladies as well, whereas ladies also need to be aware, if she was into you and wanted to build a relationship, which clearly she did at some point, she should never have done those things or then told you about them. The fact that she was oblivious enough to that situation to do it and then talk about it like it was nothing shows that she has no care for what a man thinks or how they will react to certain situations.
That could not be any more correct, and I've got some stories for today. If they're applicable, you know, they'll
If-
come out.
if they
Yeah, I
come
thought
out.
about some stuff, and a lot of it was with this one.
And I could read that from that first situation, that first opening, that's she's oblivious to it, and that's a shame. But that is a great example of when you should turn the other cheek and escape the situation while you still can.
Yeah. I actually thought about this a little earlier. How would I approach that situation now?
Yeah,
You know, if she said that, I would probably ask her and say, okay, I'm glad you had fun.
Mm.
Do you see yourself in a serious relationship with me?
right.
Because my girlfriend doesn't do those things. The woman that I see in my future, that I want to be, you know, that I could potentially eventually marry, introduce to my parents, you know, God willing, we can have children. I wouldn't say that part probably, but like,
Well, that's a good way to bring it up, is because that almost sets the expectations of what is this? What are we planning to do? Are we just looking to hook up?
right,
Or
exactly.
But I'll give you the caveat to that. You're setting the expectations because you want the relationship. Now, if
Right.
that goes poorly for you,
Well, you just
and
walk
she
away.
just wants to hook up,
Well, that's fine.
now you just shot yourself in the foot, and you're not going to hook up either.
Well, I mean,
Because
okay.
now, you know what I mean? So it depends on where your mindset is. If you still want to pursue the relationship at that point, then yes, have that conversation.
Well,
If
that's
you
what I'm
put
saying.
her in the fun only category, then don't ever have that conversation and just continue to pursue her as a fun only,
I agree.
and
I
never
agree.
even put effort into changing her opinion or mind on anything.
Mhm.
It's not worth the effort, and it could only go badly for you. There's
Yeah.
no upside.
While I was seeing her, I definitely was. Typically, when I see women, I don't, if I'm just having fun, if they're at that for fun category, they don't stick around long. It's just not.
Yeah.
I'm just not that kind of guy. I never have
That's
been.
fair.
You know.
And to be clear, I don't necessarily advocate for men or women to just go around and sleep with a bunch of people and have fun, because that's what got us all in this mess in the
Right,
first place,
exactly.
right? Is
Yeah.
why we're in this weird limbo of women think all men are dogs, and men think all these girls are
Oh,
hoes, whores, sluts, whatever. Use
Those
whatever vernacular
sluts.
you'd like, right?
304.
304s.
There you
Let's
go.
with 304s.
Yeah, 304s.
So
Sorry, YouTube.
yeah, sorry, YouTube. Yeah, that's essentially what it comes down to. So let's say, take that same situation, since we have the context now, and let's say you guys were already dating for 6 months, and she wants to go to this party and do these things.
Well, the
How does the
conversation.
conversation then change? Yeah.
The conversation would have started with, okay, do you just not want me to go? Like, I'm down. It sounds like a good time. If I haven't met her friends at that point, it's like, I would love to meet your friends, and if not, okay, why are
So
you?
it's a little worrying that you'd even have to bring it up.
Right, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
are you hiding something? Are
Yeah.
you embarrassed by me? Do you not want people to know that, like, we're together?
Right. What are you looking to achieve at this party that I can't be a witness to?
Right,
Is
exactly.
realistically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
What
exactly.
are you looking to get sloppy drunk? Are you looking to see what other suitors are out there? Right. Whatever. XYZ. There's always an alternative motive there, that somewhere something's, and if you bring it up, there's always the chance of getting that pushback of, you're insecure. Why, you don't trust me?
Well, it has nothing to do with being insecure.
Yeah.
It has to do with the intentions behind your actions, because I need to know where I stand and I need to know where this is going. And if this is going to be something serious, then we need to have a conversation about why you don't want me there when, you know, we're serious enough at this point to where you're talking about planning your life around me.
Right. I'm sure you had that conversation of moving in or whatever. By 6 months, you might have already been at that point, right? And then it'd be even more weird.
Unfortunately, yeah, we were.
Right?
Do not recommend.
It's like I have the crystal ball right here.
You know,
I know everything.
Don't recommend at all to move in that fast. But yeah, it kind of happened like that.
Yeah. No, I know. We've all been in those situations where you live and you learn from them at this point. But yeah, that's I don't know how you move on from that though. Like, where do you draw the line of things to say and not say?
So I think that depends on the man, and I think that also knowing where that line is comes from experience. You're gonna have to botch a few. You're gonna have to botch a few conversations. You have to be willing to let women walk away. And I think at the time, I wasn't willing to let her walk away because I kept going back in my head. Any way I have this conversation with her, no matter how good I can think of a way to spin it or make it sound, it's not going to go over well.
Yeah.
And it's not, at that point, it wasn't necessarily, you know, it's not going to, the relationship isn't going to continue. We have a lease together.
Mm-hmm.
But don't do that. Anyone out there. But like, if you're not in that situation, then it definitely is, okay, am I willing to let her go? At the time, no, I was not, because I just didn't have the experience or the confidence I do now. Right. Now it's like, okay,
yeah,
have fun. See you later. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Right.
Don't call me tomorrow.
Move on. You know, there's another million women on the other side of this, right? So I guess the last thing that I would say on that situation is for men and women, it's even if you trust the girl and this kind of situation arises, you have to understand that just because you trust your partner does not mean that you trust anybody around her.
Absolutely, 1000%.
You don't know these guys, and we know how guys are. We all want to do things with these girls. So for her to put herself in an environment, whether it's at a party like this, whether it's at a bar or a night out at the club with her friends or going somewhere, wherever it may be, it's the people around you that are the problem too. Because when alcohol gets involved, everybody's inhibitions go down, mistakes happen. So realistically, from a analytical standpoint, if we're just looking at it statistically, what is the upside of going to said event, right? There is no upside. There's only a downside. It's like rolling the dice and knowing that even if you get the best number on the dice, you're still not winning $1 million. Mm-hmm. But if you roll low, your whole relationship goes to hell.
Yes.
Why are you going to take the chance? It doesn't make any sense. That's why some of these girls don't understand that, and they just want to live in the moment because they're emotional about it. And this is for ladies too. Don't be emotional about it. Understand that if you're with the right guy, the guy that you chose, he's going to have your best interest in mind for you.
I think a good way to portray that for any women who are listening or might be listening is, you know, you always talk about you want a guy who's going to listen to you, who takes your needs and your wants into account, and you know things that you feel like you need, right? Well, you need to listen to him and take his thoughts and his feelings into account as well, especially whenever in a relationship like we talked last week and probably the week before too. We are responsible for protecting that woman.
Yep.
How can we protect you if you don't listen to us and avoid potentially unsafe situations or situations where it's like a kid or a dog, right?
Yep.
You don't constantly teach the kid, no, you can't touch these million things. You pick them up, you move them, you put the kid in a situation, you put the dog in a situation where they can't make that mistake. If I leave a bowl of food out on the counter and my dog my dog doesn't do this, but like I know people whose dogs do this. Let's say your dog counter surfs. Yeah.
Of course.
The dog is not at fault. You are at fault because you allowed the situation to happen.
Yeah. Same thing like you were saying with a child. You put them in a dangerous environment where they can fall and bump their heads or get cut, or you didn't do your diligence as a parent to make sure that they were safe in the area that they were playing in.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's very similar, and a lot of women don't like to hear that because they don't want to be treated like a child or a pet, right? When they put it in context like that, they're gonna go, "That's just terrible."
But
You're
even
dehumanizing. That's misogynistic. That's all these things. Well, then make better choices. We should not even be having this conversation. The conversation should have been, hey, babe, there's a party that I want to go to. This is where it is. This is who's going. Do you want to come with me so-and-so night? And then
yes,
you say, yes, I can either go, or no, I have obligations. I'm working, etc., etc. And then she either says, cool, we'll go together, or, oh, I understand. Maybe we'll tell them next time. You
yeah,
do things as a couple.
yes. I think another way to look at that is to. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, keep going.
That's all right. We'll go to the next topic. So, active listening. Speaking of losing train of thought, active listening. So, what would be the difference of active listening? Let's start with pre-relationship versus in. So, active listening just in a dating phase. What do you think? Let's start there.
Well, so like if I'm dating somebody, I'm gonna try to get them to talk, right? I want to hear about them. I want them to overshare. I want to figure out who they are as a person, how they're gonna react to certain questions or certain things. I say, like I like to give people a hard time. So like I'm gonna throw something out there that she might have to think about, or she might respond too quickly and not think about it. Might be a little defensive about it. Is it? And I'm just, I guess I'm kind of looking for the right reaction because her reaction is gonna tell me a lot more than what she's saying.
Okay. Yeah, when I think of active listening, at least in the dating phase, like you said, excuse me, whether you're wherever you're at your first date, whether it's a meal or out in the park taking a walk, wherever you guys are meeting, you're listening to her describe things that are going on in her life the same way she is about you, but you're both looking for keywords and trigger words.
Yes.
Income, jobs, money,
Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
status, kids, right? All of the things that are prerequisites for yourself in your mind about dating somebody, you're looking for those things. If she immediately goes into a conversation, probably 5 to 10 minutes into talking to her about her ex, and she
Yeah,
just
that's
don't
a red
shut
flag.
up,
That's
right? That's a red flag, right? So this is the active listening process where we're really figuring out very specific things that we want to take away so that we know as men what category we're going to put them in. And to do that, you have to not get all googly eyed, no matter how cute she is, right? You can't be thinking about her butt. You have to focus on the conversation and differentiating, where do I want to take this tonight?
Mhm.
Do I want to think that she's a good girl and I should take her out and spend money on dates and do the right things? Or should I take a step back and just see where this goes for the night and have fun, right? Did you have anything to add to that as far as the pre-dating process?
Not really in that regard specifically. I mean, you kind of hit it on the head.
Okay.
There's probably not a lot to add like that without getting into specifics.
Specific instances, right? And I don't have any off the top of my head to talk about, but going into the dating process, then active listening while you're dating, how do you think that varies? Tough. It's a tough
Yeah,
question, right? Because you at this point you should know the person,
right, yeah.
right? That's the biggest thing.
And I think, well, first off, if you don't, red flag. Second,
Yeah.
It just depends on the person. I've dated chicks who they just want to sit there and listen to you talk, and I've dated chicks who they're just gonna, you ask them one question, they're gonna go on for 2.5 hours about everything else, and it just
Yeah.
changes from woman to woman. I prefer to kind of sit back and just take in what she's telling me.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like most guys, I want to try to find answers to her problems,
Sure.
which she might not be looking for.
Sure.
I think it still is very important to pay attention to how they act and how they move versus what they say, or at least see if those two things align with each other.
Yes. So I'll give you kind of feedback on both women's and male's perspective. So from the male perspective, your active listening in a relationship should almost primarily be on how do you continue to prove in the relationship that you are that guy. How are you the
Okay.
boss, right? So that could be simple things like when she mentions something that she wants, so that you can put that on the back burner and surprise her in 2 months for the gift for her birthday or her anniversary or something of those natured things, right? That's how you keep these long-term relationships. So if there's any guys out there that fizzle up after they get the girl and they can't have a long distance, or not long distance, but long-term relationship, you're probably messing up somewhere in this step. You're thinking, I got her, I can be lazy now, I don't have to do anything. That's not the case. Now, if you're a guy who's paying all the bills and you're just running the household, very different story. Most guys aren't that guy at this point, especially in this economy.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So if you're that guy, this doesn't apply to you as much because now you're already doing more than enough to keep her around. She should already be the one chasing you.
Mhm.
If it's not that way and you're not the top 1% and you're paying all the bills and doing all the stuff, then you do have to continue to prove why you're better than the other suitors out there. Maybe the guy that does make more money than you. Why are you the guy? Now, women do fall in love a little bit easier than men, I will say, in my opinion. But they also fall out of love faster than men.
Mhm.
So, from the women's perspective, what they should be actively listening for is the things to make the guy's life easier, how to make it less stressful. Because those things go so far above and beyond for us. And it can be a simple gesture like having the dishes done,
Yeah.
or the laundry,
Yeah.
or hey, I filed this paperwork for you, whatever it may be, whatever makes their life simpler so that when they get home, everything's taken care of. The kids are already bathed and they had dinner, babe. We can just relax and watch a movie tonight. That's
amazing.
awesome, right?
Amazing.
You can
Amazing.
just relax and eat dinner and watch a movie.
Yes.
Sure, yes, that's exactly what I want.
This sounds bad probably, but anything that can be done to make my life a little bit easier.
Yep. Yep.
Be my peace. Don't add stress to the
That
plate.
doesn't sound bad. I mean, that's what the traditional role of a woman was, but somewhere along the way, they ended up becoming the boss babes, and a lot of the women do work, and so I don't expect them to rush home from work and then still do everything
Right,
around
of
the
course.
house.
Yeah.
Everybody's
yeah.
situation is going to be different, of course, right?
I'm talking about like if you are that man,
If
you
you
are
are-
paying the bills, you know,
Sure.
you've got everything down. She just has to fill in the gaps, exist and take care of the house, make sure the dishes are washed. Hey, I've got you some food cooked.
We'll throw this in there that the higher earner that the man is, the woman is the one that needs to be more of the active listener and the provider in that instance, where they're constantly chasing the man to make sure that they're not going to be replaced. Because as the man makes more money, they're going to have more options. So why would I keep you unless you're the loyal one that's been doing everything right this whole time? If you're a headache when I get home and you don't have anything done and you drive me nuts and you're not putting out or whatever the case may be, I'm gonna have to step out. And that's where we get into this situation where people are looking for alternative options. Anything to add to that, or would you like to move on?
Actually, I kind of can you give some maybe tangible examples or go into things? Because I mean, most of the people who are going to watch this are people who probably make around $50,000 a year.
Okay.
They're looking for or relying on a dual income household.
Yep.
What are things that they either need to do or the mindset they need to be in when in a relationship like that?
When in a relationship where they're both working?
Yes. I mean, obviously it's more give and take, but
yeah, you're gonna have to. First off, your dating pool is far more limited than the guy who's making six figures plus.
Yeah, of course.
Right. You might as well immediately leave the higher earner states: New York, California, Miami, Florida,
Texas.
not so much.
Well,
they're low.
the big cities, where we are.
Yeah, but the median of income isn't. It's drastic here. So you have like oil guys and you have regular people. There's like a big, whereas you can't even live in New York without making six figures.
Right.
You're going to be living in a shack with a bunch of rats.
Well, yeah, but
That's
like,
the difference. Is
if
what
you
I'm
make
talking about.
50,000 here, you're probably making 80-ish in New York.
That's
right?
what I'm saying. So if you're making 50 in New York, California, Florida, certain places,
Yeah, that's poor there.
You need to immediately understand that you need to leave if that's your preferred occupation, and you go move somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Or figure out a better job. Right. But with that being said, there are a significant amount of women that only look for those people right now, especially the pretty ones, especially the ones that have options, especially the ones that are in the age bracket that you might want to date in 18 through 30, right? If they are that girl, you're excluded off the rip. They may entertain you because they don't know any better for a day or two, but you're not going anywhere long term with them because they're going to have a guy in their DMs telling them you want to go to Dubai tomorrow, and then just what are they going to do? Constantly turn them down over and over and over and over again until you just, you know,
all these guys keep asking me. I must be really attractive.
you tell them you got to go push the carts at Target tomorrow for the second week in a row. Like you're cooked. It's over. So to figure out that dynamic, to go back to your original question, once we eliminate that dating pool, if you're still in the search process, you have to find a very humble girl. And to do that, you probably aren't in the big cities. And if you are in the big cities, then your sample size is this, right? And that's not equating that if you're a good-looking gentleman, you're tall, you're this, that, the other thing. You may have other things going on for you that circumvents all that. Because I've seen tons of broke dudes that are the bad boys that have all the women.
Yeah, but a lot of times they're tall, they look good.
That's what I'm saying. So you have to have something, one or the other. It's got to be, you can't be like average all the way across the board. Because if you are, that's okay. But guess what? You're going to have to start speaking like the boss. That's the only way to get in there at that point. Because otherwise you're in big trouble. So to maintain the relationship going into that side of it is, I mentioned it the last episode, but you have to, before you can impart any stipulations in the relationship, values, any requirements at that income level, you have to be able to make sure that she loves you first and that she's committed and involved. And the only way you can do that is by go back to the active listening part and tug at the heartstrings and what's going to make her tick. So, random example like you asked for, not something that I've done or anything, but piecing something together. If you can find something maybe from her childhood, right, that is very emotional, she has a deep connection to, whether it be a teddy bear, or doesn't even have to be an object, it could be a moment or a place or something like that, right? Retaking that into consideration, let's just say she went to a place, she went to some water park, okay? Something random like that. And this is where she's grown up. She's in her hometown still. And that's where her dad used to take her, or her grandfather, and they've passed away. That's an emotional spot for her that she has a connection to, and she shared that story with you. That's where the active listening comes into play. Because now, when you're 3 to 6 months in, and she told you that story on your second date, if you take her to that spot and make it a very romantic gesture of, hey, I know this means something to you, and I want to make sure that you still enjoy it, now you're in. Now you're starting to get between the cracks where the money and this and all these other things stop mattering. Now it's about, this person is a genuine person who really is thinking about me. Every girl has that. A lot of them, and especially in modern society, don't realize that they have that anymore. They all think that everything's money, this, that, and the other. You might as well just push those girls aside, because it's going to take too long to chisel through that icy heart before you get to that point anymore. So that's what I would say about it. Try to find an emotional connection with her. Come up with something that's meaningful, whether it's a gift, a place, a trip, something along those lines. That's how you keep a girl around. And if you can not do that all the time, because then you start looking like a simp, but sprinkle that in, maybe a couple times throughout the year, you'll keep her around. She'll always be expecting or interested and curious of what that next gesture is going to be. But it can't happen too often, because then it's not special anymore. You have to separate them, right?
Yeah, she's going to start to expect that stuff on a regular basis.
That's right. It's like the guy who gives her flowers every week. The moment you stop giving her flowers,
something's wrong.
She's going to be like, oh, this relationship's over. And realistically, you just forgot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in moderation with all these types of things. But that would be my best advice, without knowing a specific situation of what the dynamic of the relationship is. Broad stroke of how to keep a girl long term, maintain it. Anything on that before we?
No, sounds good. Yeah,
cool. Effective communication. So techniques to get her to do what you want to get done or control the pace of the relationship after the fact. So,
Oh boy, here we go.
yeah, let's start with effective communication in the dating process. So, what does that look like for you? Give me your before I give you my examples.
So we've kind of already touched on it, right?
Okay.
I think a big part is learning the kind of woman that you're dating, personality wise, understanding what she may or may not respond to the best.
Okay.
Some women like a softer approach. Some women, you just got to tell them like it is. And at some point, even if you have a softer woman and she responds to, hey, this kind of thing makes me feel a certain way. Like she's going, like the situation I gave earlier, the soft approach would be, hey, this makes me feel like maybe you don't want to be in a relationship. Like, are you testing me? Is there somebody else out there? Or, what's going on here? I didn't say, hey, you can't do this. I didn't say, I put no blame on her. I didn't say, there was no direct attack at anything she's doing there.
Yeah.
It's just explaining how I feel about the situation. I guess you can go anywhere in between, but really I have that. And then I have, the straightforward dominant approach. I'm going to call it a dominant approach because I don't know any other way to call it, but straightforward. Sure. I really don't like that you did that. Like my girlfriend doesn't do that. Okay. So if you don't want to date me, that's fine. But like, that's where I'm at. And then you have to be, you call her bluff. She's if you give her a chance, call your bluff. She's going to call it. You have to be willing to step away if you're going to have that kind of communication.
Yes. I think this kind of ties in a little bit of what we talked about last time and a little bit of what we just spoke about. So depending on what you're trying to correct is a very different conversation or no conversation at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
In the dating phase. So first off, again, we have to make sure, is this such a red flag that she has been moved to the non-dateable category?
Yes.
That's step one. If it's not, and you're still actively pursuing for a relationship for some reason, and you think that there is potential in this person and that you could possibly correct their behavior, and they just need guidance, then let's go down that path. So that path looks like, how long has the relationship been going on, and how severe is the thing that just happened? If it's, like we talked about last time, cultural differences or certain restrictions on what we want them to do going down the road, clothing wise, or certain things of that nature. Or like if you're thinking long term, I want her to convert to my religion, or et cetera, et cetera. Those are things we don't talk about yet. The really drastic ones, like converting and things of that nature. But what we are going to talk about is simple behavior problems.
Right. And if that wasn't clear, that's what I was getting at too. That obviously I'm not gonna, I'm obviously not gonna approach this conversation with a woman and be like, hey, you're gonna start doing this, or
no. Unfortunately, you can't just smack them on the nose with a newspaper, right? So you have to come up with a way to get your point across. A technique that I like and that I always try to find when there's an opportunity for it is to make them think that they came up with the idea. And this works in both.
Yeah.
The pre-dating and the relationship phase. But if you can convince them to think that they came up with whatever you want them to do, it's far easier to convince them to do it, because now it's them convincing you to do it, and you already want to do it because you implanted that seed of an idea in their brain.
So do you have an example of that? Because when I think of that, I'm thinking of something like, oh, I'm going to start talking, like I want her to dress a certain way, or I see a girl in a pretty sundress. I'm like, oh my God, look at this dress. It's so pretty, like this, that, and the other.
That's perfect.
But what about behaviors and things? You just approach it the same way?
You can approach it the same way. So,
or like, man, I love it when a woman does my dishes.
Dishes is hard because that's like a relationship thing. If we're talking about the dating phase, she's probably not doing dishes.
Fair. Right? You're talking about dating phase, right?
If we're talking about the dating phase, it's probably going to be something more minor, like the clothing choices or something like that, right? Or even, God, I don't even know. But yeah, something like, man, I really like women who wear these or this or that. You know what I mean? Put that in her head so that if she still wants to attract you, she might get herself a pair or break one out of the closet she may already have. Now you're already changing her style. And here's the other one. Be honest with her to a fault. And
Does this make me look fat?
to either that or if she wears something that's just say kind of revealing, right? And you don't like it. She obviously may not look fat. She might look great. But tell her, I don't really like it, babe. It's not really my thing. Like, I don't really have anything to match you wearing something like that. Why don't we see what else you have? Give me like 3 options. Then let me just pick the best one.
Okay.
Then she'll go back in like it's a fashion show and try 3 different outfits. Now you can pick the best one of the 3.
Okay.
Right? So now you're giving her the choice to still pick her own outfit. But it's still under your supervision. That's how you would kind of circumvent that situation. As far as being in the relationship, like if it's something a little more important, like we talked about last time with, let's say, a vacation. Let's say you want to go somewhere. And let's been, say, talking about Mexico or something, or Cancun or wherever, right? And you really want to go to Disney because they opened the Star Wars exhibit and you're like, it's time. We need to go, right? You want to do something a little more fun for you.
Sounds personal.
You have to bring up certain things that you think would intrigue her about it. Just a personal little.
Yeah, I knew this was personal.
Let's say you turned on YouTube, hypothetically, and let's say you hypothetically watched a Disney tour on YouTube, and you started saying, "Hey, have you ever been here? Oh, you haven't? Look at this, and this. Which one of these do you like? Which event, which world, which theme do you like? Oh, you like that one? Well, that's convenient because that's in the same park as the Star Wars one I wanted to check out. Maybe we could do something like this." And she's like, "Yeah, that'd be so great. Really? You've never been? You want to do it too? That's awesome. Okay, well, let's put the other one on the back burner. Let's do this first. That other one may never come. It's gone from memory. You've just changed the situation by thinking that she came up with that idea.
You're giving away too much much game here to a specific somebody who's probably watching this.
Just giving you guys some very interesting information for the men out there to take. And it's going to take time to really kind of plan those kind of things and know that those are the type of situations that you're in and resonate with them to the point where you can go, okay, this is that time. Now I can use that thing. It takes practice. It takes awareness of when you can use it and how to use it properly. And any of this advice that I'm giving, let me be very clear. You have to be very eloquent with your words to get this to happen.
Yes, absolutely.
You cannot be the stumbling buffoon or not very
articulate.
English proficient. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but articulate is great. Yeah. So you have to not be the Ebonics guy unless your girlfriend is the Ebonics girl. You know what I mean? You have to make sure that this is a
Might
educated...
get in trouble for that one.
Yeah. So, anything else on effective communication?
Regarding... So if you want to squeeze this in somewhere else, it's fine. I feel like it's kind of applicable. I think back to a couple of situations where a girl wanted me to commit to her, or I was trying to find a way to get her to commit to me. Let's say you're dating a chick.
Okay.
And a woman. And she's not really she's not quite in the for fun category. She's not quite relationship status. Marriage. Yeah, but you're thinking about it and you're like, it could be there.
Okay.
How do you feel about putting off that commitment, not vocalizing it, but it's not something that comes up. It's not something you talk about to the point to where she feels like it's been enough time. Hey, why have you not committed to me? Why are we not together? And then using that as a way to...
committed as like boyfriend, girlfriend, or committed like, hey, I'm ready for a ring?
relationship, not
Okay,
not quite
okay.
not quite get the ring,
Okay,
but
because
because I
those
mean,
are those are different.
yeah,
Different ways
completely
to handle
different.
those
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
If it's just why have you not committed to the relationship with me? You
Well, specifically using that as waiting for that opportunity to use that to communicate to her. How do you feel about that? And
Yeah.
if you think it works or is okay, how would you approach it?
So here's the thing. So on the back end, like behind the scenes, as a man, you have to realize that women give away sex, men give away relationships.
Right.
That's the difference between us and what we offer, right? So we pursue intercourse from them.
Mhm.
They pursue relationships with the man that they want. So understanding that, you have to be picky, just like a woman should be with who she's sleeping with. You have to be picky with who you're willing to give a relationship to. Because if you choose the wrong one, you're going to have heartache. You're going to have somebody cheating on you.
Yeah.
You're going to have stress. You're going to have a
That-
whole bunch of things
that
that
could be
are
a
going to
life.
be very detrimental to your overall everything, your
Yeah.
career and all of it, right? So to if you're not, first off, you have to have the conversation with yourself of, is this somebody I want to date or not? Because by the time she brings up that question, it's decision time. And you may be able to put it off another week or so, but you have to come up with an answer of either this is going to be the end of my fun time and I'm moving on and she's just getting left behind now, or I'm going to commit to this for a little while because I'm enjoying this too much.
Well, that's kind of why I gave you that scenario.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily someone that you've stuck in the fun category, but you're looking for a relationship. They're kind of
They're on the fence.
they're on the fence. You don't really know which way it's going to go yet, and
That's
you have
what dating
specific
is
reasons
for,
why.
right? So you're not marrying the girl. You're giving them the trial run. You're seeing if their behavior and their actions may convince you that they're worth being your girlfriend once they're in the girlfriend status. You can just as easily 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, if they prove not that girl, to
Okay.
end it.
So
and
then-
cut it.
So then let me try to ask a few questions to kind of
Yep.
direct this to
Sure.
where I kind of wanted to go.
Okay.
Do you, when that conversation comes up and you say, I'm not ready or whatever, this isn't turning into a relationship yet, do you wait for her to ask why? And whether you do or don't, do you specifically start naming things off? Do you do you be direct with her and go, hey, this is why I don't like this, you know, I
I
don't
see what you're saying.
I don't know how I feel about that, XYZ, whatever.
No. And I'll tell you why. So if you are you as the man need to come up with a decision. If you can't, then that's a problem in itself. You have to make a decision of A or B. Am I leaving or am I staying? So there's no in between. It's no, I'm going to just keep dilly-dallying in the middle and wiggle it back and forth and figure it out how long she's going to stick around. Because when you do that and you put in that situation like you just asked, if you're being direct, if you're direct with her, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about rolling the dice.
Mhm.
This can either go neutral or very poorly. There's no upside when you're that direct with her at that point, because she is either wanting you to commit or going to be real pissed off that you did. There's no in between. And the only in between is delaying the inevitable. So that's why I said you can delay it a week or two. But being direct will almost put you to the point of a downhill slope. It'll make her go, I don't do those things. That's fucking bullshit. And just get real aggressive, real quick, call you out on your nonsense. We've been sleeping together. Why are you not doing this? You're not committing. You're just this and that. Cause a whole argument. You're going to be going home alone tonight. That's what's going to happen when you're direct at that point in the stage. You can be direct, but only after, remember what I told you, after she loves you, after you have the relationship, after you're 3 to 6 months committed. Then you can be direct as hell. Because now she's already invested in you. At the point of wanting the relationship, she's almost there. But if you're direct and tell her, this is why I don't think you can have a relationship with me, she's going to come around and say, well, then what the hell are we doing? Because that's me. And you need to accept me for who I am.
Okay, so what you're saying essentially is just avoid that altogether. It's
not a good situation.
Yeah.
If you put yourself in that situation,
it's either a hard yes or a no.
It's hard yes or no. Because if she's already demanding that, it depends how far into it is, obviously. Now, if you're only like a week or two in and you're still in that dating phase,
Well,
you
that's
can
different.
probably push it off. You say, hey, it's just too early. Let me You know, I
We're
wanna-
reading the same book. You're just a few chapters ahead of me.
That's right. Yeah. Now she's like, ooh, metaphors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So but if you're, been doing this for a while and she's putting you in that spot and she's like, what are we doing? Why are we not? Da, 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 da. You got to make a decision. As a man, you have to choose. Your role in society is to be the decisive one.
Mm-hmm.
Use logic, use reason, and make a decision. That's your role as a man. If you can't do that, go put your vagina pants on because you ain't one. You got to move on to the next thing if you're playing all these games. Be decisive, make a choice, figure it out. Yeah.
So then I guess, and I'm not advocating for this, but
Yep.
just so it's out there, you would you would recommend a hard avoid like giving any kind of silent treatment or trying to create such an awkward environment
Sure.
for her that she feels uncomfortable, makes her want to. You're saying always be direct and open, be the initiator. Don't wait till she comes to you and she's like, why aren't you talking to me? Why haven't you committed to me? What's going on?
If you're still in the dating phase and you're ghosting a girl or just not talking to her for an extended period of time, you're probably not that interested. You're probably she's already in the category that you've chosen. That's the realistic thing, right? She's already not a girlfriend. Because if you don't want her around very often, or you don't find the need to talk to her or care if she walks away and stops talking to you, then she's already in that category. So let her do what she wants to say at that point. And if you can squeeze one more, nut, then great. But if you can't, then you got to call it as it is. You messed up and you got your losses, and it's time to move on to the next one. But yeah, I wouldn't put yourself in that situation. And if you do, just understand those are the consequences.
Yeah, so real quick, I actually dated a chick for about 3 months.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Are you being sarcastic or
No, dated like not your boyfriend, girlfriend?
no? Like we were boyfriend girlfriend.
Okay, then it's not that. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were just like in a dating phase for that long.
No, it was for like a
month.
month, and then we probably dated for like actually 3.
Okay, so not a long relationship. Okay.
No. I again, I was still a little young, and finding a way to communicate other than just being super direct and potentially hurting her feelings. At one point, I was trying to say, hey, it is about dog training. Like I used to be, I used to be like big in that world and everything. And I was like, hey, she had a really big dog. It was like a Doberman Rottweiler mix. And she didn't know when she picked it up, she didn't know it was going to grow to be like 100 pounds and be a huge dog.
Okay.
Super sweet, lovable. But she couldn't walk it around the neighborhood because anytime it was on a leash, it would like drag her and pull her, and he would be aggressive towards neighbors and others, strangers and other dogs. And so she would always complain about one. It goes back to you talking about listening to him. I was like, hey, I'm on spring break. I can help you train him. We can leash train him. We can do simple obedience stuff. I can make it so that he's more comfortable around strangers and other dogs and doesn't, run away from you. Well, I don't want you to hurt him, this and the other. And I kind of cut her off a little bit, but I was like, I'm not going to hurt him, this and the end. She's like, no, you're not going to yell at me. You can call me later. Bye.
Oh.
And I just didn't call her back.
Oh, wow. So she probably took the pet's side in that instance.
There was no side to take.
I know, but
she was crazy anyway. She had an arrest record. She had a domestic violence charge.
There's just an emotional reaction to what you were telling her. And a lot of women, here's the deal. We talk about being direct and how sometimes that's the best way, right? And deeper into the relationship especially. But you have to be that guy. And when I say these things, I do mean that the normal reaction for women is not going to be good. 90% of the time, it's received pretty poorly because women don't talk to each other directly. That's how men talk to each other. We're very direct. We get to the point. Women do not. Women are lied to almost their entire lives because they're pretty. And if they are having an interaction with a man, he's probably trying to sleep with her. So he's being sweet and nice and not direct and mean. He's saying all the things she thinks she wants to hear. So when somebody comes in and tells her directly to her face how it really is, because you have no ulterior motives and you are either looking out for her best interest or protection or just don't want to sleep with her or interact with her, they're super taken aback by it. They have no idea how to handle it. And they're just like, what in the, you know what I mean? You're rude. You're obnoxious. No, I'm just one of the few people who actually is telling you the truth. And you have to make sure that they understand that. And the only way, even into the relationship, to get them to do that is if they respect you. They have to love you and they have to respect you. If they don't think that you're intelligent and they don't think that you're smarter than them and they don't respect you, it doesn't matter what you say. You have to get that first. And that's why I say you have to be able to speak like the boss. You have to be able to have the eloquency when you're speaking to get your point across in a way that she goes, he's pretty smart. He knows what he's talking about. Otherwise, if you're dumb, she's going to be like, you dumb, blah, 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 blah.
I know more than you.
Yeah. Trust me. Those are the girls are a headache and you don't want to be with them. Don't let her come at you with, I got a master's degree in this, so I'm a genius and you're stupid. No. Guess what? That piece of paper means that you can sit in a classroom and write reports for an extended period of time and shut up and listen and pay an exorbitant amount of bunch of money for a piece of paper. That's what that shows. That's it. It does not show intelligence. It shows your ability to memorize information for a short period of time to pass a test.
Fun fact.
Yes.
A lot of psychologists agree that part of the reason why more women these days are getting degrees than men is because women are more agreeable. Women are more willing to sit down and let someone else spoon feed them all the information, retain and regurgitate.
This was funny you bring that up. Did you ever think about this? In the old days, before internet, before all this stuff, before the women had option, the man would come into the household, tell her what's going on. This is the way we're moving. This is how this is going to happen. And they would sit and listen. So it's ingrained in their DNA
Yes.
for thousands of years to be this way. But they're not putting the man on that pedestal anymore. Now it's their institution. Now it's their job. Now it's their boss. Now it's all of these other people around them that they're going to give that respect and prioritize. They're going to listen to everybody else but the person that they're romantically involved with. Because that's what society has taught them to do. Whether it's the music video where they're shaking ass or all these other ratchet ass people online telling them all the wrong things. Independent this, single mom that. Listen, they need to get all of that out of their heads and understand that the best thing for them is the nuclear family, mother and a father, no transgender cousins and in between coming in the house and playing stepdaddy. Take all that out. You have to be able to go in, build the family, raise the child, keep it simple, respect the husband, move on. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You're going to be divorced. You're going to lose half your stuff. Everybody's going to be miserable. You're going to be on the streets. You're going to be slinging around the pole in the next 2 months because you can't afford the bills and you realize he was paying more and, oh, you don't make enough money. And then you get out on your own. You're like, I can't make enough money. Yeah, guess what? Fucked up. You fucked up. You fucked up. That's
Absolutely,
it.
yeah.
So
70 years of social reprogramming.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, all right. I started cooking there for a minute, but anything else on that topic?
Nope, don't think so.
All right. Conflict resolution. So after we're in the argument, before and after, we kind
Okay,
of
so you're
dabbled.
talking specifically in the argument.
Conflict resolution or after the fact. Like, you know, guys,
Okay.
when you're walking around the house,
Like
mean
pissed
mugging
off,
each
yeah.
other for a day
I
or
got
two,
you,
right?
Yeah.
Any of that stuff. Strategies to handle disagreements. So let's talk about pre-relationship dating category. What do you got for that first?
I try to find, depending on how serious it is,
Yeah.
I try to find witty ways to kind of like poke at them or whatever. I guess a good example of that would be not really shaming, but like playfully shaming them about something. Nothing's coming to mind. I guess I didn't fully understand what you meant, so I didn't have a whole lot in that regard as far as examples.
That's fine.
But yeah, I try to like, you know, poke at them and make fun of it kind of thing, and so that way they understand, like, you know, I'm not being a hard ass about it, but I'm calling it out. So
okay. I mean, a lot of what I would think about in this example is after relationship, and the reason I say that is post relationship. If you're having arguments with somebody, hey, it's probably a disaster already, and you just might as well walk away because you have no commitment and you have no investment in this person, and she's probably thinking the same thing and just going to block you and ghost you tomorrow.
Mhm.
The only other way that somewhat changes, and this is again, as the man, internally be retrospective with yourself. If you know you did wrong, said something wrong, or you messed up the situation, and you reflect on that and go, oh man, that was my fault, then admit it. Hey, go back and admit it. The worst that she can say is no, it's too late, and then you just move on with your day. But at least you said what you had to say, and it absolves you of what happened. You know what I mean? But for the most part, if you know she's wrong and you're not even dating yet,
Yeah, just go.
she belonged to the streets.
Yeah.
That's it.
Be willing to cut. Like I said
That's
earlier, you have to be willing to just let it go.
Just let it go. It's done. It's all over. Post relationship. Dealing with arguments. There's a lot of different ways. It depends on how severe, obviously. I would always give that same analogy as what I just said, is if you do realize it's your fault, make it right. If you're a man and you realize it's not your fault, there's an old saying that no longer applies to modern society of happy wife, happy life.
Yep.
That's great 50 years ago.
Yep.
Doesn't
Not anymore.
exist anymore.
Nope.
So happy wife, happy life leads you to being a simp, leaves you to paying the bills, leaves you to getting divorced, leaves you getting left, leaves you to getting cheated on.
And then your whole life's ruined.
You don't want any of those things anymore. It's gone. It's a waste of time. So, unfortunately, women have overcorrected so far with feminism that it's like you have to reel them back in. You have to, because they're never going to get what they should be doing in a relationship. 90% of them are going to think that they can be single or act like a single woman did, even in their relationship. Nothing changes. And that's not the case. Everybody's got a different lifestyle. Obviously, if you're a single guy, if you have a kid of your own, if you are living at home, if you have your own place, there's a bunch of different reasons why the dynamics of this argument are going to change. But the general rule of thumb is own it if it's your fault. And second, if it's not your fault, you have to weigh out, is this worth fighting for? It's a realization thing of, is this worth going back to?
Yeah, you have to pick and choose your battles.
If not, this is what you do. You put your phone down, you breathe, you get over the argument, you call your buddy, hey, where are we going tonight? And you start over. That's what you do. You never get over somebody better than when you get under somebody else.
I thought we were talking about like post-relationship.
We are. We are. But it depends on how bad the mess up is. And that's what I was saying. Like, is this a relationship ender? Or is this we're going to just fight about it and make up sex in the morning?
Well, so it's kind of funny to use that word. I don't, like, obviously you're going to have disagreements.
Of course, everybody does.
Not give away too much info here. Growing up,
yep.
The what I have learned is that I do not want to, like, if you want to have an argument about something, you want to disagree about something, okay. There's almost nothing that we should get in a full-blown fight about. Nobody should be yelling. Nobody should be so pissed off to where, they think they need to sleep in the other room. I have to leave and go do something. Like, if a situation comes up and it happens, but 99-ish% of the time, that should not be the case. It's, hey, we're having a disagreement about this. I don't like that you did A, B, or C. Let's sit down and talk about it. And sure. Like you said, if it's my fault, own up to it, move on. I feel, in my experience as the man in the relationship, it's better to, even whether it's your fault or you're bringing this to her as like, hey, these are my issues. She's going to feel a certain way about it regardless. And it's almost like it's also the ball's in your court to not necessarily get over it first, but let her know that, like, hey, it's okay. We're still, good.
It depends on who started the argument too, is how this is all going to get handled. Like, there's a lot of variables in this topic, because if she started the argument because you didn't take out the trash or you didn't do the dishes, right? That's a small argument. That's either my bad or I just didn't have enough freaking time, and you need to understand that and not blow a gasket. It's one of the two.
I'm talking about more.
Now, if it's more of
things.
A serious thing, right? Then, if it's something that she's about to go and do, and you can prevent it by having that conversation prior, then that's what should be done. right? Like we talked about earlier about like going to the club or wearing a certain outfit. Those conversations should happen prior. You should be like, listen, I don't like this because X, Y, and Z. I don't trust the situation. Obviously, this is something we haven't talked about yet, but just touching on it very briefly. When a man goes out, if he goes out and has no intention of talking to women, no one's going to talk to him.
Right.
If a woman goes out and has no intention of talking to men, then guess what's going to happen? You're still going to get approached by 5 guys. It's just the way it works. Men approach women. So the social dynamic, yes, there is a double standard. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. There's double standards in all things in life. Women, you can go to the club, you can get free drinks, you can get into a section for free without paying a damn dime. I have to earn all that. I have to buy it. I have to sell it. I have to do all of the things to get in there. I have to attract you in. I have to do all of the things and then still have communication skills to be able to tell you that I am the guy. I bought all this stuff and I'm awesome and you should come and sit with me. So I have to have the entire package just to have that one night where you just have to show up in a cocktail dress. We are not the same. So when the roles reverse and it's unfair to you as a lady, guess what? Too bad. That's the way society has built it. You don't like it? Change it.
They've been trying. It hasn't been working out.
No. What they're doing is pushing it in the same direction. To change it, they need to dress conservatively.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? They have to not do all of the things. They have to not go get sloppy drunk on a Saturday night. They have to do all of the things in opposite of what they're doing now. If they do those things, then they can change the society and how things work. Guess what? You don't want to be approached by men anymore? Every lady in America, get up and go approach a dude tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to do that.
Most aren't.
No. 99%.
Yeah, I would say
not
like
going to approach a dude.
Yeah.
They're going to wait. They're going to maybe go next to you so they look cute and they want you to and give you the hints, right? But they're never going to start the conversation. That's not what they do. So guess what? There's double standards. You have to understand that. This is the world that we live in. It is what it is. So yes, when I tell you you can't wear certain things, you can't go to certain places, but I can still go. That's the world we live in.
I think for what I was getting at is kind of more after the fact, like something has been done, not like we tried to have the conversation ahead of time. Not that it was on my radar. I was aware of whatever happened, I guess I don't really have an example for you without getting too personal, but
yeah. I mean, it's
like just fighting over bills or something, or moving away, or like an institution. What institution are our children going to go to for education?
Okay, then
stuff like that.
Then those type of conversations, whether it's bills, destinations of living, and all that kind of stuff, children, I would always say the conversation has to be situated around best interest of the family. That's the starting point. So have that conversation, but say, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. But understand that whatever we discuss and decide on, we have to understand that best interest of the family. If it sucks for me, if it sucks for you, doesn't matter. Best interest of everybody. What's the best option? What's the best outcome? And I think it's this because have that groundwork. Because a lot of women are not going to be able to articulate themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't have those social skills to be able to do that. They can just show up and look pretty and get what they want. In this kind of situation where they're already dating somebody, they can think it and they're going to pout and they're going to frown and they're going to yell, but they're not going to be able to articulate how they want things to get done. This is what I want because, and then lay it out for you. Most women don't have that skill. Some do, and kudos to you if you do, but a lot of them don't. That's the unfortunate side of it. So I think we went a little off topic, but the next topic is long-term planning. So it kind of goes into a little bit of this. So long-term planning, creating a vision of the future with your partner. And how soon is too soon? So let's talk about the dating phase and long-term planning. Thoughts?
I would say a general rule is maybe like a month to 3 months, just dating. I tend to like to move a little on the quick side just because if I feel like I've got a good woman, I don't want to let her go. I probably know after a few dates if this is somebody I can see myself, not necessarily like marriage long term, but at least for the foreseeable future, right? The next year or so.
I do think a lot of men move very quickly because we don't have as many opportunities as women do. So like if you get a girl who's actually interested in you and you're like, damn, she's bad, you're going to move more quickly because you don't want that opportunity to slip away, or you have experience of losing them after you start talking. Let's say you get a girl's number and you start talking for a day or two and then all of a sudden ghosted. It's happened to everybody. It's happened to all of us. They get bored, they move on, right? So we move quickly because we're trying to avoid that situation. Trying to not lose them, like you said.
So I actually do like to get to know a girl a lot more before, I start getting a little touchy-feely and commit. I know there's a specific timeline you have to do it in so she maintains interest and things like that.
Yep.
But it's not so much that for me. I'm kind of at the point to where I know just about any woman I interact with on that level is going to just walk away, or it's not going to be anything serious. It's just if I, there's like maybe like one or two yellow flags, things I can deal with, things I can change, no major red flags. Okay. I guess my issue is more so kind of having that conversation or knowing how to bring it up other than being, hey, let's DTR, or just being playful about it, being like, well, you're not my girlfriend yet, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see all that. In my opinion, the long-term planning is probably off the table to have a conversation with.
In terms of just
dating phase,
in terms of just getting to where we're exclusive in a relationship,
unless she's bringing it up in a goofy way, right? If you guys want to joke about it and things like that, like she's like, I want 2 kids, 3 kids when I'm older. Da, da, da.
Yeah,
depending on how old you are too. Obviously, it's more acceptable. That conversation is probably not going to happen if she's 35.
No,
you know what I mean. Where it would happen when she's 18.
Yeah.
She's talking about her future and her life goals, because there's more optimism towards the future at 18 or 21 versus 35 or 32, whatever it may be. Once you get past a certain point, especially for women, everything is looked at negatively as far as the future now, because it's reminding them of aging.
Yeah.
And they don't want that anymore. They like it when they're young. They hate it when they're older. So as far as the dating phase, what do you got? Long-term planning.
So we're in a relationship.
3-6 months in, let's just say.
I mean, if it makes 6 months and I feel comfortable, I would probably say more like closer to 8 months.
Yep.
It also depends on the woman. I'm probably looking at, hey, I'm thinking about, should we move in together? Is that something that might happen? And then kind of shoot around the year mark for that personally. If she doesn't, in my past relationships, they've all brought it up themselves. But if she hasn't brought it up yet, or the opportunity didn't just naturally present itself, then it would be a conversation that I would bring up, between probably 6 and 8 months. Like, hey, is this something you see in the future, kind of thing?
Sure.
The near future.
I would agree with that part. I think anything before, depending on what the talk is, if you're talking about living together, I think the 6-month mark is a good time to start thinking about it, and then probably implement the year, like you're saying. And that's me, older, coming to what's the best strategy, because I have done the opposite multiple times in my life, where I find a girl, think it's a great idea, moving together immediately, and then it works.
All hell breaks loose.
It works, but it's not the right one.
Right.
And then it gets awkward, because now, how do you interrupt your whole living situation, or reassess your finances, or everything else that comes along with separating after you realize she's not the right one? You can't just walk away anymore. Whereas you could have done that if you were still living separate. So a little bit more of a trial run, I think, is probably the best option, especially in today. 15 years ago, when I was a young man, I probably would have said a little bit different. Women were a little different. The internet was a different place. Nowadays, no, take your time. These girls are very deceptive.
Speaking of time, at least before you make any lifelong commitments, I believe the psychologically correct timeline is about 2 years before the honeymoon phase ends, and they say you should, if this may still be true, if it's not, I'm sure somebody will let me know, but you should live with them for at least a year out of that 2 years.
I think the honeymoon phase lasts 2 years if you're not living together. I think if you live together, you're expediting that almost probably 5x.
Maybe.
Because you being on top of each other in close quarters like that every single day, that honeymoon phase is going to go away real quick compared to the 2 years. It'll probably be more like a year. It's not going to be, you're going to be so comfortable with each other after a year. You might be farting in front of each other at that point and doing all sorts of weird, disgusting things, snoring, drooling on yourself while you're sleeping. She's seeing all that now. Like, that kills the honeymoon phase. It's not, oh, my handsome boyfriend's coming over the house, take me out for dinner anymore. It's, hey, are you hungry? Yeah, I'm hungry. You want to get some McDonald's? Yeah. It's a different thing. It's not the honeymoon phase anymore.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong at all. I think that can be the case, but I think maybe even more so for men to kind of be in a position where you understand that I really just wanted to keep her around subconsciously because I wanted somebody, or I knew how hard it would be to get another one, or
A
this
lot of men
actually
settle.
is. Yes. And at least in my experience, it like that 2-year mark is just like the death of most of my relationships for that reason. It's because like I have this epiphany. I'm just like,
Yeah.
this ain't it.
So I'll air my own business out there, I guess, for a second. So my relationships have mostly been longer ones. I had like a 2-year, and I had like one that was like 2 months. But other than that, they've been like 5, 7 years, etc. They've all been very long. At the end of it, it was me figuring out what I wanted as a person and becoming the expert, kind of where I am today, and going, this isn't going to work because X, Y, Z. And I know that now because now I'm educated on what it is, and I would be settling. And it's an interesting thing that I've reflected on because in my relationships, I've been the one to break it off a lot of the times. But statistically, most men don't end relationships.
Right.
It's
mostly
always the women. So I feel like I have a very unique perspective when it comes to those kind of long-term relationships because I've mostly been in long terms, and it's always me saying, you're not
Time
the
to
right
go.
one. It's not
Yeah.
me. You know what I mean? So that's neither here nor there, but we'll jump into the next one because we're over on time here already. Empathy to understand your partner's feelings. I have some notes on that, like being nervous, oblivious to your social setting, but what do you take away from empathy to understand your partner's feelings before I jump into what I thought about it?
My knee-jerk reaction was thinking about how you can exist in the same space
Okay.
comfortably. Are you with a woman who is kind of quiet and reserved and she enjoys that peace and just kind of wants your company? You guys have, a few meaningful conversations throughout the day? Or do you have a woman who she wants to talk a lot and she needs that reassurance, and that's kind of like her love language and how she shows affection is she wants to have a meaningful conversation with you? Do you guys need to go and do things a lot? Can you create a space where, and I mean this is for the woman too, but can you create a space where your partner, the person you're entertaining, can be themselves and feels like you kind of fit into their life?
That's pretty good. No, I like that a lot. That's actually a different angle than what I was taking for it, but I do think that that's probably a good takeaway. When I thought of it, I was thinking about how, depending on what your social setting is, not just necessarily at home, but your social life, right? So whether you're out together at a party or out and about at a bar or clubs or just out in the nightlife or in different big places, is she aware enough, and are you aware enough to read each other's body language and social cues, right? So if one of you feels uncomfortable, is the other person picking up on that? Do they understand so that they can help you get out of that situation? Are you being brought to places that you're always uncomfortable? Does she like to go to a place that just rubs you the wrong way every single time? And vice versa. Are you bringing her somewhere that she's not comfortable? Those are the kind of things when I start thinking about the empathy of how does your partner feel in certain situations and how are you reacting to it, and are you helping or are you hurting?
Yes.
So if your man's embarrassed, or here's a great example, I'll give you an actual example. If your woman is a social butterfly, okay, and she is going out and about, and she doesn't understand the context of some friendly is too friendly and very talkative to people or touchy with everybody, right? There comes a point where she could be putting you in danger because you're going to have to step up and defend her or fight with
Draw
somebody.
that line, yeah.
Draw that line, because she doesn't know how to create that line herself. And I've actually gone through that personally, where a girl that I was dating was a very friendly girl, to the point where we were out and she would talk to people. So she was going to close out our tab. She went by herself in this one instance. This has happened multiple times, but here's one. She went to close out the tab in the bar. We were in an outback patio spot where I was sitting waiting. I was going to go use the restroom. The restroom was full, and I wasn't going to sit there and wait because it was like a one-stall restroom. So I came back in, ended up finding her by the bar where she was closing the tab. Two guys are talking to her. Obviously, it's a very crowded bar anyway, whatever. They're closing out to, whatever, doing their thing. Rather than go directly up to her, I sat back and watched the interaction. I was like, let me see how she handles this before I do anything. Because if I get in there, it's going to look messy. Let her do it, right? Let her say, oh, I got to go, my boyfriend. Whatever. She didn't, right? She's sitting there talking, da-da-da-da-da. They're clearly trying to get her number. It's typical guy body language, like rubbing up on her arm, yada-da. At the end of the situation, I don't know what they talked about because I was too far away. She's hugging him. And normal hug for her, not normal hug for him. Down behind lower back, right? Getting real close. Okay? With that being said, she starts turning around, comes to me, and then as she comes to me, I'm already upset about the situation. I'm going to try to talk about it in a casual way. They call to her again, and she goes back and hugs the other one the same way because it's his birthday and he wants a hug.
She didn't know these guys.
Did not know these people. They were complete strangers. Okay. In that situation, as a
too
man,
big.
I will tell you, I am not a small man. Okay. If
Big
push
boy.
came to shove, I probably would have threw these guys, both of them, over the damn bar counter if I needed to. But with that being said, I never want to put myself in those situations. Being somebody who's been in those type of things in my younger years, you understand that's not ideal. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be involved in it. It's not who I am. It's not. It's a necessary evil if it comes down to it. But it's not where I ever want to put myself. I don't go looking for it. So that was a big argument with her. But that's what I'm talking about when we talk about the empathy towards each other. She did not have the empathy to understand social dynamics of what would infuriate her boyfriend. So when we're a good little I guess thing that I've heard, I don't know if you would call it a little phrase, I guess a saying, is to make other men jealous of your boyfriend, not your boyfriend jealous of other men.
Yes.
Right? And that's a golden rule of thumb that most women have never heard or don't live by. If you can do that, there will be no problems. But if you're the opposite and you're constantly giving the other men the attention that your boyfriend is supposed to get exclusively, now you're messing up. It's a very quick way to end a relationship. So, do you have any personal examples or takeaways?
Maybe not similar situations. Maybe not anything that's different enough to throw out there. But I mean, yeah, I've definitely been in that situation.
Yeah.
In college, actually, thinking about this, the guys I hung out with are all bigger than me, in good shape. One dude got in a lot of fights in high school.
Yeah.
And he walked away just to go to the bathroom. And these dudes came up and tried to hit on his girlfriend at the time.
That's all it takes.
Bro, she didn't even look at them. And I just looked at him. I said, she's taking y'all. You're better off walking away.
And that's going to happen. I don't get mad if somebody approaches her, to be fair. Like, you know what I mean? I'm expecting that. She's a good-looking girl. I expect people to walk up to her. What I expect is her behavior to shoot them down and not give them the time of day, and especially not give them hugs.
Well, she definitely didn't do that. She did. Without saying anything, she did everything she could to let them know she wasn't interested. It took him walking back, and we ended up putting one of the guys like on the ground because they wouldn't fucking walk away. They wouldn't walk away. It was like,
Don't be that guy.
Yeah,
That's
it
not-
was crazy.
You got to know when to say, okay, this one's not in the cards. Time to move on.
Yeah.
Going through that, one thing I just wanted to tap onto real quick is posting dating updates on social media. The only thing I have to say about it is the people, I'll give you the example. The people that say, men are so this or so that, and I hate everybody. Or even the guy posting, can't believe my girl did this or something like that, whatever it may be. Or the ones, if you remember back in the day, people's statuses were very shown. Like
Yeah.
they had the little hearts and different statuses in a relationship, married, etc. People would update those statuses constantly.
Yes.
Like it was
Terrible.
You had sharks swarming the water if you seen it. Ashley is now single. Bro.
I jumped on one of those in high school. I was like, oh, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Especially if it's just an argument.
Yeah.
Don't do it. You have to keep your personal life personal. No one should ever know that you're going through rocky times. The people that you think are your friends, especially women that have male friends, if you have male friends on your social media accounts, I'm going to say this directly at you people, okay? If they have friends on the social media accounts and you are posting updates about your personal life with your boyfriend, the only thing that you are doing is giving them the opportunity and a little crack in the wall to get in. They may either shoot their shot now. Oh, what's happening? He's such a jerk. Tell me all about it. I'm here if you need me, baby. You cry on my shoulder. All that nonsense. Or they put it on the back burner, and then 6 months from now, they're going to know, oh, Ashley and so-and-so's relationship is terrible. They're not real. But maybe I can get her out to a party or something and we'll shoot my shot. And, she would do something, cheat on him or this or that, the other thing. Or they just wait because they know it's coming. They're like, oh, single status, there it is. Let me be her friend now while she's in the relationship and be real buddy-buddy with her. So that way, when that moment does come, I'm already there. I'm first in line as that guy.
Yep.
God damn it, man. Stop being such simps.
That unfortunately happens a lot.
Stop it. But that's all I have to say about it. Don't post it. Don't do anything personal, especially if it's an argument and you're going to get back together in a day. Don't change your status to single and then change it back and then change it again. Stop that stupid shit.
I probably would go so far as to specifically say that I'm not, even if we're quote unquote in a relationship, it's got to go on for a few months before I put anything on social media or even let her do it. Like pictures are one thing, going out to dates, having a good time, sure. It's not that I don't want people to know that we're not together. It's that I don't want to, that's just a lot of, you're putting your business out there for everybody to comment on, and it's not a healthy place.
Okay, so to wrap up this episode, I know because we are getting kind of long here. We'll try to wrap this fast. I got some stats that I had looked up and did some research for last week. Some of these are from an institute that did a bunch of dating studies on just modern dating and things of that nature. Now, I will say the caveat is the article itself was written by a woman. Let's keep that in mind. And I haven't looked up where this institute was, so I don't know if it's a very liberal place or not. But I will say that most institutes are anyway. So I'm really not too worried about that. I'm just going to take it for what it is. First one, I'm going to read one. I'll read a couple of the overall stats, get your take on it, and then I'll keep going. So nearly half, 47% of all Americans are saying that dating is harder today than it was 10 years ago. A third of them say dating is about the same as it was a decade ago. They're probably out of the dating market, to be honest. 19% say it's easier, which they're probably the top people, and this is men and women.
Right,
So
men and women,
right,
of course, yeah.
And then women are much more likely to say that dating has gotten harder. 55% versus 39% of men. So women are saying dating is harder.
Yeah. So
what is your takeaway from that before I keep going?
So I would agree that most of the people who are saying that dating isn't any harder than it was are the people who've been out of the market. You should see my sister's reactions when I talk to her about conversations I have with people or the kind of things that I have to deal with. And I don't even try that hard. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, like, eye-opening, jaw-dropping. She's like, I can't believe it's like that, you know? What was the last thing you said?
Just that women were thinking so. I'll
Oh
go to the
yeah,
next
women
one,
think that women think that
Women
yeah.
think it's
So
harder.
that's because they think that they have more time invested into this, right?
Yes.
They go on a
Yes.
lot more dates. They go through a lot more fish before they find the right one.
That's right.
You know, most guys, especially if you're on dating
Would you say
apps,
more picky than a decade ago?
absolutely, because they have more options. If you have more, there was I forgot where, but there was a study that proved that having more options makes you more picky and less happy. They used very basic. They used ice cream, but they essentially were like, do you get chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla, or you have chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, mint, you know, s'mores, whatever. Everyone who had the 3 options were happier with what they got. Everyone else was second guessing their choices.
Interesting. That's very eye-opening, actually. Among those who say that dating is harder today, 21% think it is because of increased risk, including physical risks, as well as the risk of getting scammed or lied to. Women are twice as likely as men to cite increased risk as a reason why dating is harder. 26% of women say it's more risky, and 13% of men. I think that stat alone proves that women are delusional.
Absolutely delusional. What risk do you have? You're not going to go meet a guy until you talk to him you're not even going to give him your number until you talk to him for hours on end, and you can kind of make sure. It's not like they don't have friends around. You're
traveling in a pack of 6 hyenas with you.
Yes.
You have
like
nothing
what?
to worry about.
No.
I don't understand.
You are like what? You are more likely to get...
Let's go into actual statistics.
Yeah.
Men are more likely to be assaulted or the victim of a physical altercation and crime than women are.
Yes, absolutely.
That's an actual stat. So look that up if you don't agree with me. And then second is also it's men versus other men. It's not men on women.
Right.
Those are very small minority numbers of women being assaulted or taken advantage of or attacked or anything of that nature. It's just emphasized more in media when it happens because it's a bigger deal.
Yes.
So you'll see it.
And statistically speaking, more men are going to look at a woman and want to protect her or in 100%. Some way, shape, or form, as opposed to, you know, I can whoop that guy's ass.
Yeah,
you know?
You're far more safe.
Yeah.
Other reasons why people think dating is harder include technology. 12% said that. The idea that dating has become more impersonal, the more casual nature of dating today, and changing societal expectations.
Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about it ad nauseum. Window shopping on dating apps.
Yep.
A woman having 50 guys in her DMs saying, hey, I can fly you out. I can do this. I can do that. Okay, well, what's John Smith going to do down the street working at the Dandy Dog going to do for me, you know?
Yep. All right. Carrying on with that. I skipped a couple of things because there was a lot of different articles, and a lot of them were just jargon. This one seems interesting. Half of singles say that they aren't currently looking for a relationship or dates.
That's in general?
In general, so both genders. Half of the population of the United States that are single say that they're not even looking.
Okay. I would assume it would be a little bit, well, I guess women make up more of the population. If you're talking about specifically men ages 18 to 30 or 18 to 35, maybe it's even 18 to 40.
Well, I'll give you the breakdown. So among these single non-daters, 47% say a major reason why they aren't currently looking for a relationship or dates is that they have more important priorities. So 47% of the half, so half of the half, are saying, I got other shit to do other than dating.
So that's 2 things. That's 1, women going, I'm going to focus on my career. I'm going to do this. 100%. I'm going to do that. And then on the men's side, it's more like,
these girls don't pay me any attention because I ain't got my money right yet.
Right. I get no attention. When I do get attention, it's rough. I've had my heart broken. It's just better to stick to my hobbies.
That's right. Well, and the barrier to entry for dating for men, if you're just an average guy, as a young man, is near impossible.
Yes.
Unless you're dating some girl you're going to school with or something where it's a social circle thing. To get out and actually just meet somebody without any actual clout, money, status, fame, or the good looks of a god, you're kind of out to sea on your own.
And you can have some of those things and just be too young.
Difficult.
Yeah, just be too young.
Yeah, of course. 44% of that half say that they just like being single.
That's like all men or women who are getting their backs
That's-
blown out.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
How much of it is what you just said? Women thinking that they have all the time in the world. They don't need to date in a relationship because they're just having fun.
They got a
They're going
roster.
Travel around. They
Yeah.
got the roster. They're doing their thing. They're gonna right. They're having hot girl summer for the next couple of years.
God.
So other factors,
Guys, if any girl says she had a hot girl summer or she jokes about hot girl summer, that's a red flag. Run.
yes, being too busy, 20%. Not having good luck in the past, 18%. Feeling like no one would be interested in dating them, 17%. Not being ready to date after losing a spouse or ending a relationship, 17%. Feeling too old to date, 17%. And having health problems that make it difficult, 11%.
Okay, so like
The age
first
group is 18 through 49, and then a separate poll for 50 plus.
Okay, so like the first 3 or 4 that you named off, those are all guys, and then
Yeah.
the last 3 or 4, they're all women.
Yes. While these answers are mostly similar for men and women, there is one notable exception. Male non-daters are about twice as likely as female non-daters to say a major reason that they aren't looking to date is the feeling that no one would be interested in dating them. 12% of women said that, and 26% of men.
There's
So-
no way it was only 26%.
26% of
What was the sample size?
Well, 26% of the 17% that said no one would be interested in dating.
Okay.
See what I'm
okay,
saying?
Okay, yeah.
So
that's kinda
we're
skewed.
fracturing it down
Yeah.
little by little, but out of that group of people that said no one would be interested in dating them, 20, so more than half.
Mhm.
That just shows you the dynamic. Regardless of what the numbers, it could be 12 and 26, it could be 6 and 12, it could be 50 and 100. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the takeaway is women are just not dating because that little percentage of them may be the ugly ducklings, and they just don't think anybody would be interested in them. Double that for men means that a lot of men, more than a quarter of them, 1 in 4 men, don't even think that they can be in the dating world. That's why this podcast exists.
I mean, so the ugly duckling thing, that's such a smaller percentage than you think. Over 80% of women, accounting for all of human history,
Mhm.
have reproduced. Okay.
Yes,
Do you know what the percentage is for men?
much lower.
30 to
That's a good
40%.
one I have to look up.
30 to 40% of men have reproduced over the course of recorded human history. So, I mean, that's such a smaller percentage of women than anyone wants to admit, I think.
Random other statistic. The number of single women in the U.S. is expected to increase by 1.2% every year from 2018 through 2030, compared to a 0.8% increase of the overall population. So the overall population is going up 0.8%, but single women are going up 1.2. So
Yeah.
there's a 0.4 discrepancy of single women. This is likely going to result in 45% of women between the ages of 25 and 44 who will be single and childless by 2030.
Yes.
So almost half of the population between 25 and 44 will have no relationship and no children.
Yeah, I've actually looked
In
into this quite a
2030.
bit. Yeah.
Another, I guess at this point it's only 5 more years. But
A lot of issues that people are discussing long term, at least as far as the economy goes, is that it's going to get to be where kind of Japan is, where there's going to be way too many old people, not enough young people to respectfully, not enough young people to take care of them. Programs like Social Security and Medicare, things like that are put into place for older people, they just won't be able to exist anymore. We're going to have multiple generations of elderly people who we don't have space for and we don't have the money to take care of.
right, and that's one of the reasons I'm sure they're looking at the Social Security and things of that
Mhm.
nature now, right? That's a side note, but to go around with similar statistic. In the U.S. today, it is not unusual to turn about 40 years old and have never been married. In the most recent data, which was done in 2023, more than a quarter of the adults between 35 and 44 have never been married, which is 26% for men, and the percentage of 29% for women.
What was the percent for men again?
Sure,
Percentage?
so it was for men it was 29%. Yeah. And for women, it was lower, 22%. So
Interesting.
So women at between 35 and 44 that have never been married, 22%. 35 and 44, 29% of men. So again, we're about a 7% disparaging here. And this was back in 2023. It's probably only gotten worse now. But more men are still not getting married or having children than the women are. And this goes to show you why there's so many single women around and all these things with kids and single moms and everything else that's happening. I have a couple of random, just throw out there facts for you. 46% of Americans are single, indicating that almost half of the population will move through life alone with their vast array of choices. 51% are open to both serious and casual relationships, reflecting the variety in modern romantic preferences. 21% of 30 to 49-year-olds are single, indicating a trend toward commitment in this age group. So think of that, 30 to 49, a fifth of the population, single.
Hmm.
I don't think it's commitment issues. I think it's
the social atmosphere that has been created. Yeah, it's the culture, 1000%.
Why would men settle down with the wrong person, or why would women not leave a marriage that they're incentivized financially
to leave? Yeah,
to leave.
1000%.
The society has built this construct, unfortunately. And I'm reading these statistics just for education purposes for the men that maybe aren't in the know about this kind of stuff, just so you really know what you're getting into. It's not just to read off random facts and like toot horns or anything like that. It's so you can be educated on all of the stuff that we talked about prior to this. You have to know this information going into it so that you can be educated enough and say, these are the things I need to look out for. These are the things I need to be aware of so that I don't get trapped and become the statistic.
Yeah, you kind of have to learn how women move if you're going to set reasonable expectations.
63% of men and 34% of women under 30 are single. That's the biggest one. Under 30, only 34% of women and 63% of men.
Yeah. And which goes back to everything we just talked about. You know, when you're a young man in your 20s, you don't have status, you probably don't have money. Yeah, you have nothing. Exactly.
You're living with mom.
Yeah. You're trying to figure it out.
Your girlfriend that you want, she's showing her butthole for $4.99 and she's rich.
Well, not only that, so you get that, but you also get, why would I entertain this guy who's building himself up at 22 when I can date this 32-year-old who's established, already has money, and he wants to put me up?
Yep, of course. 30% are using dating apps, emphasizing digital platforms' role in modern romance. 70% of online dating ends in a serious relationship, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's wild.
So people are...
Where are they, though? Where are they looking? That's what I want to know.
Well, I think it's probably in very small circles, smaller towns, maybe not the major cities, right? Because you have still a limited dating pool of people that you want to interact with, that live around you. I think the other part of it is, think of, how we talk about the selection process for women and how they have so many options. Think of being able to put all those options in a single dating app, and they, instead of can talk to 10 to 20 guys a night, they can literally cycle through 1,000 guys in a night.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting rid of all of the stuff that they're not interested in so much faster than ever before. They're being more selective through the dating app. So when they actually do finally say, okay, I'm going to go out on a date, they've already screened the hell out of it. It's not the men that are going to be more successful. It's the ones that actually are getting the date that are going to be more successful. So, and this is not saying that 70% of people that are on dating apps are successful. It's saying the ones that actually do connect and go out on the date end up being successful.
Yes.
That's what it's saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about,
that's probably like
2% of people that actually that are on there are successful.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
34% of men and 27% of women prefer online dating. More men than women. And that to me shows the simp culture.
I agree.
That shows that the men do not have the cojones to go out and approach women like they used to. They don't have the face-to-face interaction skills like they used to. And they probably are just so tired of being shot down.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a whole bunch of it too.
Yeah, they want to put in less work. They're less attached to it. There's less emotion when they take the hit.
They're far more brave over the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the biggest thing. Now that I think about it, if a man and a woman go out, the woman literally has to do nothing to get approached. So she can still prefer that method. The man has to go out and actually do all the work if he goes out. Where on the dating app, they're kind of at equal playing fields. They both have to swipe on each other.
I wouldn't say
Maybe not equal, because he still has to put in the work and like say hello and come up with catchy lines and attract her in, right? But,
so that's what doesn't make sense to me, is that if you can't talk to women in person, you can't have good text game either, right?
not necessarily, because you can be a stuttering fool
Okay, I mean, sure.
and then just have the mental capacity to text a formulated sentence or have more time to think about it. Whereas your improvisation skills is just terrible. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. Last couple here. 75% of employees date their coworkers due to a lack of time or shared interests.
That's bizarre, because, I mean, at least in my camp, one, dating a coworker has never worked out the few times I've tried it, and two, and at least in my experience, which is a very small sample size, most women don't want to date their coworker. They might date somebody at the same company, but someone they actually interact with on a daily basis.
Just because they know they have something to talk about. They talk about work.
Yeah, it's like being introduced through friends, right?
Yeah. I think that we have a culture that a lot of people, corporate America, work too much.
Mm-hmm.
And because they work too much, they just gravitate towards other people that they're around at work.
I mean, not to get into politics or anything, or the economy, but that kind of goes back to how, the country's doing as a whole.
Yeah.
When we were children, $50,000 had the same buying power as like, 125 grand. And now if you make $50,000 a year, you're broke. That's above the median average, but you're broke.
The very next statistic, 19% of people rarely go on dates due to economic concerns. So almost a fifth of the country just doesn't even do dates.
That's using dating apps, right?
No, that's just in general.
Okay.
Doesn't go on dates.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm good. I'm just going to stay home. I'm not doing dates because money.
So those are all men.
Yeah. That's, because, women ain't paying for dates, right? So it's
99% of the time.
It's all men.
Yeah.
44% of all daters prefer virtual dates than traditional ones. I don't even know what a virtual date is.
That was my question.
That's bizarre that 44% people preferred that, because I've never even heard of that. So that part right there makes me question the whole study. That one answer. Because who are you asking?
Yeah, I want to know their sample size.
What weird socialite is just only dating online and then going on virtual dates? I mean, you can't smell them. You can't interact with them. You can't touch them. You can't see how tall they are. You can't do anything. Or a virtual date. What is that?
Is that like the new thing on dating apps? Is you can have like a little, like a virtual whatever. Let's FaceTime through the app.
The takeaway is we're in a weird world.
Yes.
Where hopefully this episode has incited some of your own questions. And we'll say that. Whether it be about the statistics or be about some of the topics we talked about. And if you're going through a situation, I would say comment. Send me DMs. Let's try to figure it out. I'm open to all questions. I'll give you some answers. It'll give us things to talk about on future episodes. If you want one-on-one coaching, we offer that. You'll see that in some of the links.
Link in the description. Yeah.
Yep.
Check the link tree.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mostly with this guy, not so much with me.
It'll be one-on-one with me. What takeaways of anything else?
No, not really. I feel like we touched on a lot of things.
We're taping this episode a little bit earlier in the week, so we don't have a weight update. That was one of the things we wanted to do. So we'll follow back around on that next time for status on the diet and see how that's going. But you said it's going good, so we should see some significant change.
I wouldn't say significant. It'll be slow and steady.
Pounds.
Yeah.
Couple LBs.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's it. We'll end it here.
Yeah.
Gotta walk the talk and sing the rhyme. Confidence so heavy it stops time. Eyes on the prize, yeah, that's the line. Step in the room, it's my paradigm. Swipe right once, I've got the charm. Heart beats fast, creates alarm. In my zone, my calm disarms. Hand in hand, we light the stars. Speak like a boss, talk like a king. Words cut through like it's nothing. Swagger in every single thing. Crowd cheers loud, it's a winning ring. Date nights lit like city lights. VIP, we own the nights. Success in love, reach new heights. Whisper sweet and hold her tight. Confidence flows like a river wide. No need to hide, just glide and ride. Challenge me though, I've got the pride. My world will